CBS News senior national security analyst Fran Townsend is here with some insight. Fran, let me just start off by asking you your sense of this deal. How unusual is it when people hear $400 million and they hear cash? That raises, in some people's minds, a lot of questions. Can you just give us some perspective here?
Sure. Well, the administration was actually quite clear when the agreement was reached on the nuclear deal that there were gates that had to be gone through in which there would be big lump sum payments to the Iranian government. The problem is, at the time that they announced that deal, they never talked about $400 million in euros on pallets being flown in, right? And so if the administration, if the president, when he talked about it back in January, had been very straightforward and said, look, this is complicated because of the remaining sanctions. It had to be transferred in cash, in euros. We got the assistance of our allies in Europe. It wouldn't have been so, I think it would have been less questionable. People would have objected to cash, but it would have been less objectionable. For it to come out now that this was the same weekend as the hostages were released, it raises very serious policy questions about the longstanding policy that the United States does not pay for the release of hostages. And of course, the Iranians have added to the difficulty of this argument where they've taken additional Americans after that into custody.
Let me ask you about the significance, though, of cash. I keep going to that because this is the thing that gets a lot of people's attention. Is there a precedent for making payments in that way? When you talk about international deals like this, are they often done in cash?
Well, no. I mean, the one that came to my mind going back to the Bush administration, where there was an agreement on a nuclear issue with the North Korean government, and they wanted assets unfrozen from a bank account in Macau. Now, that did not involve cash. It was a circuitous and complicated route to get that money released because of the sanctions in place, but it was managed during the Bush administration. But it was not, I say again, it was not in cash. And it's the combination, to me, of the cash and the timing of the release of the hostages that raises the serious policy concerns.
So, bottom line, from your perspective, and based on your own experience in the White House, was this just handled poorly, or do you think there are legitimate questions here about the timing of this?
I think both, right? So I think that there are legitimate questions that the administration and the State Department now have opened themselves up to. I do worry about the safety and security of Americans around the world, but particularly those who visit Iran for business or family. And so I think some of that could have been ameliorated if they had been straightforward at the time. If the administration truly believed that this was unrelated and that they were obligated to make this payment, they should have just said that up front. And you could have answered those questions on the front end instead of it seeming so suspicious.
All right, Fran Townsend, thank you so much for your perspective. Appreciate it.
Good to be here.